Hey everyone, my name is Stephanie Stout. I just finished my internship working with Department of Social Services in the county. It was a great agency and I loved it. I also currently work at a residential treatment facility for incredibly traumatized children. They're unsafe to live in the community and they can't really manage their behaviors very well. They're very behaviorally challenged. My experience working with families with my field placement, I was always with families. I was in court. I was dealing with parents fighting to get their kids back. I was dealing with parents who didn't know what to do with their children, things like that. At work, I do very similar stuff. I have, a lot of kids who some of them don't have any families, and we've networked with foster families and different people who have tried to help them in their lives. And we've reached out to potential placement options for them with extended members of families. Their parents can come in and visit if they do have them or take them home for the weekends. And we work with them on treatment plans and treatment teams and their goals and all those kind of things. So I've worked with families a lot. Um, and sometimes it's a really big struggle. I can say that from both my internship and my real life job, because a lot of times at my work, I can kind of push the families off because I'm mainly there to help the kids. But that also, it includes families, but with Department of Social Services, we were constantly dealing with the families and trying to reunify. So then my family, I feel like growing up was very traditional. I had a mom and a dad, I have a brother and a sister. We were very close, all of us. A lot of times when we were growing up, our parents worked different shifts. So sometimes, during stages of my life, my dad would be the nurturing one. He'd be at home, he'd cook the dinners, my mom waitressed. And then there was a period of time where my dad worked night shift and my mom would do the dinners and the running us to sports and things. But we always had like very traditional Saturday night dinners and then church. I remember that a lot growing up, that we were very diligent with doing those the kind of things every week and making sure that we had sit down dinners when we could. I'm the baby by a lot. So for me, sometimes growing up, I had two sets of parents. My brother and my sister were much older, so it was almost like having a whole other set of parents. So I was always very strict with that kind of stuff because I didn't really get away with much being in high school and as a teenager because it was like I always had so many people watching me. Um, but yeah, we were a very close knit family, and I feel like, we followed a lot of rules and things like that. And then as we got older, our parents became more the people that we could talk to and confide in, and it wasn't always rules and structure. And I'm still very close to my parents, so I had a very like good upbringing. Um, and my role in my family has always been kind of the rebellious a little bit, but also really independent, which I think also was why I was seen as rebellious because I more so like to do things on my own. And that has led me to be like the caretaker in a lot of situations. My sister, who is older, took more time to get on her own two feet and move out and things like that. Is where I graduated from college and I never moved back home, mainly just because I had so much desire to do things and be on my own and be independent. So when working with families, sometimes I recognize those things in other people, and when people get upset and they're like, well, she's not following rules and she's not this, and where the children are, not being able to meet the requirements, sometimes I try to level with them and just be like, hey, like, do you think that maybe they feel a little confined and maybe they're a very independent kind of person who needs that extra room, wiggle room to learn and grow? And it also, it helps me to understand, and I can talk to these clients and these people about like how to have open conversations about that, because my parents have always been incredibly supportive of all of my dreams, and they've also been there to catch me when I fall. And I always recommend that to families when they're struggling. Let her try, let them fail, let them, that kind of stuff, and give them the wiggle room, unless it's obviously very serious stuff. But just a lot of people get nervous about kids going out on their own, and sometimes they need to do that in order to find their own, who they are, come into their own personalities. Um, One of my biggest struggles, which, I don't know if anybody can answer, it's just something you have to learn and grow with, but that for this class would be great for me, it's definitely learning how to deal with parents when I really don't agree. Working in an incredibly crisis driven environment for my kids who have been through enormous trauma, and having their parents, come in and start saying like, well, she needs to do this and she needs to do that and they need to do this. And it's sometimes hard for me because I'm like, you're missing a lot of the aspects of trauma that your child's endured and the reason why they behave this way and the reason why they can't fit into these constraints. And so it's hard for me sometimes to hold my tongue just because I know I need to be respectful of the parents, but I'm very connected with the kids I work with, and I see their side of things and how much they've gone through, and it's very hard for me to, try and force them to fit into this mold their families like them to be. And that even goes for foster families that have had nothing to do with their trauma. It's hard for me to completely jump on board sometimes, like with the environment that we're sending them back to, because I'm afraid my kids will fail if they, don't have someone who really truly tries to understand them. So that's something that I definitely need to work on is, letting parents and people deal with things their way. Because, I have my way from being in a therapeutic environment, and, that's not how it's going to be for the rest of these kids' lives. So, yeah, that's about me, and thanks.